So today I want to give a little bit of a talk about your food story. And this is a concept that I kind of throw around a lot on my Facebook page and my Instagram, and I want to kind of introduce it here in a little bit of a longer format so that I'm able to kind of get out my ideas about what a food story is and why I think it's a valuable exercise. So I think of your food story as a resume of all the diets, all the life hacks, all the exercise plans that you've ever used in order to create health in your life. Now, for most women, when I say create health, most women think of a number on the scale. So it's normally more about creating weight loss. And how I think a food story should look is essentially a list of all of the times that you have tried to create health in your life. This can take the form of an actual written story, it can take the form of just a timeline, or it can take the form of something like a video, like I did with Parts of Mine, which is on the YouTube channel that you've got here. And what I think it should include is any of the big name diets. So these would include things like Slim Fast or Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig or Dr. Bernstein or Keto Diet or If It Fits Your Macros. Anything with a name would go on there. Anything that's like considered a life hack. Don't eat after 6 p.m. Just stop eating bread altogether. Eat a grapefruit in the morning to get your metabolism going. Do cardio in the morning on an empty stomach so that your body will immediately go towards working off the fat in your body. Anything like that would go on here. Any type of fitness plan. So if you trained for a marathon, or you trained for a Tough Mudder, or you trained for a bodybuilding show or a CrossFit competition, that would go on here. Why do I think that this is a valuable exercise? Why would you want to go through the hassle of doing all of this? And I think that there is really four reasons. The first one, I think, is that this can be a really cathartic experience. If you've never actually looked at your history with weight loss, this can be really eye-opening and extremely releasing. And from the end point, when you're done, it can be extremely empowering to know that you can move forward while looking at everything that you have already done in your past. To give you a bit of an example of how this would kind of work, I have recently come out of a situation where I quit my job. And when I quit, I left because of a situation where I was being bullied in the workplace. And I did all the typical things I think someone would suggest that a friend did if it was a friend in that situation. So I was going to therapy, I was on antidepressants, I was trying to rest as much as possible. And I got this idea in my head that I needed to write this out, that I needed to release it somehow. And even though I was going to therapy, it wasn't enough. So I took pen to paper and I wrote the entire story out. Now, it took 2 days. It took a lot of tears. And, I had a lot of people say that was just looking in the past. That was not releasing what had happened. And I beg to differ. I think when you actually put pen to paper, or when you actually create something that you can point to that says, this is my history, this is what I've done, it can be extremely releasing. The second reason why I think that it is a great idea to do something like this is it can be a very useful tool in analyzing whether or not the next diet plan you want to go on or the next health plan you decide to incorporate into your life is going to work. How something like that would work is you would take the last 3 diets or tips or techniques or exercise plan that you had used and ask yourself 2 questions. The first one would be, What did you find was easy to implement into your current lifestyle with that plan? So I found with something like Jenny Craig, which I was on 3 times, it was extremely easy to just eat their food. You could eat, if you followed the plan, you were going to lose weight, and they gave you all the food. So it was kind of hard to mess it up. So I liked how easy it was. Then about those same 3 last diets that you did, write out what was the one thing that was extremely difficult to implement into your lifestyle that you felt was like swimming uphill. Normally, this would be the thing that would have derailed the diet and got you to kind of, quote unquote, fall off the wagon. So things here could be, like I did Weight Watchers twice. I hated the amount of daily tracking I had to do. So daily, I had to know what my point situation was at whatever point in the day, so that I knew whether or not I could eat whatever, the candy in the lunchroom or whatever it was. Or I had to know where I was in terms of how many free points I have left for that week, so that I could figure out whether or not I've got the free points to just kind of go nuts on whatever food it was that I was looking to have. So, write one good thing about each diet, one thing that felt good and that was easy to implement, and one thing that felt really difficult to implement. Then when you decide that you want to go into a new diet plan, or you're looking at a new health plan that you want to get into, you can take a look at that new health plan and go, well, they don't make it particularly easy. I've got to do a lot of meal prep on this one, and I'm not so sure, because it was really easy for me to implement if I had a plan. Or it's got a lot of daily tracking that I've got to do. Well, that kind of derailed me on Weight Watchers. I'm not so sure that this is going to work. So that's the second reason, is that you can use your food story as a tool to be able to see whether or not a future fitness plan or a future weight loss plan is going to work. The third reason I think that a food story is so important, and I think this one is even more important, maybe even than the other 2, is that you can start to see patterns and tendencies. So you can begin to see what you really like to do. Just even doing that exercise where you're looking at what's one thing you liked and one thing you didn't like about each of the diet plans you've done, you can see that, just from the examples I told you, that I am the type of person that really likes to have a plan. And I like to make it a very simple plan. And I don't like to be daily having to figure out where I'm sitting in terms of food in order to see whether or not I can eat something. So I can see that pattern. I can actually see those tendencies coming up in every single diet I ever did. I can also see things. A recent Facebook, I wrote about this, where I found myself in high school in particular trying to just not eat and then trying to overexercise. And in order to combat that, because clearly I was going to get hungry, I would go into the pantry and close the door and hide the food that I was eating. I didn't want anyone to know. And I can remember being even younger and sneaking downstairs into the basement where we had a freezer to eat cookie dough down there. Again, hiding it, not wanting anyone to know. And even now, I can see that pattern playing out, maybe not today, right now, but very current, where I would avoid eating food if I had to eat it in front of anyone else. I would want to eat it at home when no one else was home. So now I start to see this pattern that's kind of made its way through my entire dieting history. And that means I can disrupt that pattern. That means I can stop that pattern. That means I can change that pattern. So it's the same thing for you. When you look back over your food story, you can begin to see patterns. You can begin to see whether or not you're maybe using exercise in a way that's not helpful, or you are only going on a diet when you see a certain number on the scale. And when you don't have that number on the scale, then you're eating absolute crap. Your regular diet is normally filled with McDonald's and pizza, and you're not getting any fruits or vegetables or nutrients into your body, and you're feeling tired and you're feeling exhausted. And you can begin to see this pattern through your history. If we never take out our history and examine it, we're never going to know where we went wrong and what we can do when we move forward. The last reason, the fourth reason, is all about beliefs and values. So for years, I had said that my family was my number one value, and that health was really important to me too, but my family was my number one value. Actions speak louder than words, my friends. And when I actually sat down and wrote out my food history, I began to realize that there were a lot of examples where health, and maybe not even health, it was me trying to lose weight that came above my family. So I can remember one time in particular, I was on Jenny Craig, so they provide you with all the food. My family had come out to visit me. So they don't live here, so they had to make a journey to get here. They get here. We decide to have a nice day outside of the house. We go out and whatever it was we did, shopping or whatever. And at the end, we're hungry. We want to go eat something. So we go somewhere to eat, and I didn't want to go off my diet plan. I was determined not to go off my diet plan. By the time we had hit this restaurant, we're at the hangry point. And I sit down and I order a side salad because I want to eat my meal at home. Well, I made everybody at the table uncomfortable because everybody else was eating a meal. And that did nothing to satisfy my hunger. So I was still pretty cranky when we left that restaurant. And I recognize now that that wasn't healthy. In any sense of the word, that was not healthy. And for me, who has always said I put my family first, this was a pretty clear example of me not putting my family first. So actions speak louder than words. And when you look back over your history, you can begin to see where you have put health as a value in your life and whether or not you have put it in a place that you are comfortable with. Hey, it doesn't matter if I had always said that health was my number one, then maybe I wouldn't have felt so bad about that whole situation when I'm eating salad when the rest of my family is eating a meal, because it would have still fit into my value ladder. But by looking back on it today, knowing that I have always said my family is number one and I want them to be my number one, and recognizing that that wasn't the case, that's pretty eye-opening. So basically your food story, to recap, is essentially a resume, a timeline, if you will, of all of the things you have ever done in the name of health. You would do this exercise, which will take you some time, especially depending on your age, for 4 reasons. Because it is cathartic and releasing, and you're going to feel a sense of empowerment going forward. Because it can be used as an analytical tool to analyze your future health, fitness, wellness goals. Because it is a good way to analyze patterns and disrupt them. And because it is a great way for you to see that your actions speak louder than your words, and to analyze your belief system and your values surrounding health. So that's a food story, and that's why I think it's important. So to end off today, I just want to give a little bit of a blurb about how I am doing a brand new beta test for this new program that I have got. I'm going to roll out. It's called Your Beautiful Body Image Toolkit. I am looking for 3 ladies. You will be getting 10 different worksheets. Actually, it's looking like it's going to be about 12 different worksheets. You'll get videos to go with each one of those worksheets. and you'll get journal prompts. There will also be a coaching sessions where we'll be doing group sessions for the 3 ladies who decide to get involved. So I am looking for 3 beta testers. So if you're interested at all in starting to create a loving, compassionate relationship with your body, then please look me up. My name is Jennifer Radke. The name of my website is iwishiwereme.com. Go ahead and just drop me a line in there. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. So go ahead and look for me in all of those spots as well. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much. Love yourself first and always.